Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Charlie Pankey, Sierra Right Now podcast. Thank you for joining us. Glad you were with us wherever you're at today. Drive safe if you were in your car. Listen to us on Spotify. And if you're on YouTube, sit back and relax. We're going to have a great show today. Today is kind of monumental for us. It's our very first repeat guest. We have Colin West from Clean Up the Lake back with us today with some really big news and really big announcements. If you are into just kind of unsolved mysteries or things that you can't see that you just kind of wonder about, this might be the show for you. If you're into conservation and cleaning up our lakes and keeping things water, this show is definitely for you because Colin is the expert in our area. And we're going to be locking in today and talking about all the unseen things, what lies beneath, right? Or what I shouldn't say what lies unseen is what we're saying here today. And a cool premiere that Colin's coming up with. So Colin, how you doing today?
Yeah, doing good. Thanks so much for having me, Charlie.
Good news. People don't know that the battle you and I have had to get this started today. I had a power outage yesterday, missed a show. He had a power outage last night. So all the forces of evil. We're going to have a great show today. So, Colin, it's been a while. We talked, last summer. You were heading to Mammoth, I believe, at that time to clean up Lake Mary, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds about right.
Sounds about right. And then since then, I know you guys have done several lakes in the area. So I thought we'd start today of maybe just kind of giving us a recap of the last 6 months to a year and what you guys have been doing with Clean Up the Lake. If our groups don't know, Clean Up the Lake is an organization that free dives all of our lakes and cleans the junk and trash and all the unseen stuff underneath. So go ahead, Colin.
Jeez, yeah. Update in the last 6 to 8 months. I think,
a lot.
yeah, when we spoke last, I probably had just gotten married and hit the ground running after a honeymoon and kind of got right into Lake Mary, which was an awesome project. And we pulled out, I think, a couple thousand pounds from there and circumnavigated that lake and then some. And then, geez, what did we do? We hit Virginia lakes. Cleaned up there, which wasn't as dirty as we thought, which was nice, but we still pulled out like 300 or 400 pounds, which was good, and kind of deemed the work complete, even though it was just pilot. It was small enough that the pilot project, we almost cleaned up all of Virginia lakes.
I would assume that's a lot of fishing lures in Virginia lakes. That's a big fishing lake.
It was definitely more fish than I had seen under the surface of one lake at one time in one area than anywhere before. I won't say which lake though. Got to keep.
Oh, okay. Fishermen are lifting it up, yeah.
And then after that, we actually went to Minnesota. Minnesota Pollution Control Board hired us to bring out a team. So that was our first ever kind of remote flying in job that our organization had done. And it was a big ice fishing lake near Lake Superior called Mille Lacs. And that was a pretty cool project to get out there and do that. But lots of different challenges that we faced. It wasn't an alpine lake, so the bathymetry or the underwater topography of that lake, if you will, differed. So the distribution of litter and things were completely foreign to where we were used to looking. So we actually spoke to a lot of ice fishermen and had the fishermen take us out with their depth finders or fish finders and to all the hot spots where they all go fishing and kind of use that as a target point. But ultimately that lake was looking a little bit better than we thought, which is not always the case. So, but I think that had to do with the distribution of litter once it kind of drops in, and there's no steep shelves like these alpine lakes. So it just kind of works its way to the shore. Mm-hmm. And then from there we got back and we've really just dug into Donner Lake and Lake Tahoe, doing kind of a new method using diver propulsion vehicles or those big underwater scooters and nitrox gas so that we can cover more ground and work down in deeper depths longer. So it's been a bit, but along all of that, we started shooting this new Docu-Series with the media arm of Clean Up the Lake that we're announcing, which is Make a Difference Creative. And this documentary series is called What Lies Unseen.
Unseen. That's really cool. Just to give it a little preview, that's what we're going to be talking about today. I have just a short little snippet to kind of get you excited. Go ahead and watch this real quick. If it'll play for me here. There we go. Hit play, Charlie.
Seeing the world while doing good is why I started what I did here with Clean Up the Lake, and I want to keep it going and even pick up the pace and experiences like
All right, so we'll have another snippet here in a little bit, but wanted to kind of tease that because I had been following you. You did Stampede Reservoir. You just got done up at Marlette Lake, which is a kind of a historic place to dive in my mind because it's such a important part to the where we live in our valley for the water system, Virginia City. Um, what was the I go is the word epicist? What was the motivation that got you started with the idea of I'm going to film this? Did it always come with the idea of I want to build a movie, or did that just kind of evolve after you started collecting all the data and going, man, we really need to showcase this?
Yeah, it's a great question. And as you're asking it, I realized those were 3 lakes we cleaned up in the last 6 months that I forgot about when I was
Yeah,
a
no,
kid.
you have a lot. You're
Marlette,
always busy,
Stampede,
right?
Boca, yeah. But yeah, I think the motivation really is the name of the medium, make a difference, right? That's
Yep.
what we always want to do. And I think when it comes to cleaning up, it does make a difference when we pull 81,000 pounds of litter out from all these lakes that everyone knows and loves up here in the kind of northern Sierra and the eastern Sierra. And ultimately, though, we're cleaning up issues from the past. We're not really preventing anything moving forward. So
Yep.
that's where I think when we have our youth programs, and someone was out working with a classroom today in Placer County, and trying to work with kids to prevent these issues in the future when they become adults. But also, I think media and storytelling and everything is a powerful way of reaching people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure most listeners probably sit down at the end of a hard day at work and turn on their favorite TV show or watch a movie sometimes to
Yep.
relax at the end of the night. So trying to engage people and our community and our viewers in a way that they prefer, I think is important. And so that's why my background before Clean Up the Lake was creating feature documentary films
Mm-hmm.
and TV shows. And so it's something that I've kind of had in my back pocket, in the back of mind, that I really want to use. And I really want to tell stories that have more of a meaningful impact than some of the things I did previous to the nonprofit life. And so now it's kind of a blending of a few passions of mine to be able to tell stories, and which I love and I geek out about a bit. But it's stories that make a difference at the end of the day.
That's when you kind of approached me or sent me the press release and say, hey, is there anything we could do? That's what really caught my attention. I remember speaking to you last summer. You're so passionate about the project you're working on, the lakes, but it really is deeper. That you can tell it's kind of your core of who you are. It's not something you're just building a business. You're actually, this is who you are, and it just happens to fit along. So when you said you're building the film, I go, of course you are. That just makes sense from your past, kind of your passion for telling story. I think it's going to come out. So let's talk about the story and what people need to know so that in case you're listening, you got to get going. We want to make sure that the details get out here. Tonight, you have a premiere up in Truckee. And then on Saturday, correct me if I'm wrong, South Lake Tahoe before the YouTube premiere launch Verve, correct? You want to tell everybody some details on that?
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, What Lies Unseen is going to have its premiere in North Lake Tahoe and South Lake Tahoe starting tonight. So, Truckee Alibi Ale House will be hosting the premiere. Doors are at 6, screenings at 7. What we're going to do is we're actually going to be hosting the first 3 episodes there. So, a sneak peek of episode 1, 2, and 3. And then on Saturday night in South Lake, at the South Lake Brewing Company near the Y, because they have 2
Mm-hmm.
locations. So it's not the one by the village, but the
Oh, it's good
one
to know. Yep.
closer to Myers by the Y, their main first ale house they had. And that's where we'll be hosting the second premiere for South Lake, which will also be, the first 3 episodes. And so that will be pretty exciting, and we're looking forward to that. And then following that, everything's going to be available online at youtube.com at Make a Difference Creative. And people can follow along. Every month, we're going to be releasing 1 episode. And our goal is to keep that going in perpetuity. So it's supposed to be a series that really chronicles the work that our dive team does. And each episode, you're meeting new characters. You're seeing stunning visuals from a different geographical location and a different beautiful lake, both above and below water. And also we're exploring a unique topic in each episode. So for instance, in Virginia lakes, we look at altitude diving. In Boca and Stampede, we look at pilot research. In Marlette Lake, we look at how our dive team works to, not disturb archaeological artifacts and help preserve history and the methods and things that we approach there. So every episode has, new people, new places, and new topics to learn about.
Very good. I'm just sitting here listening to you, and a couple of things came to mind. One, we didn't tell you today is March 6th, by the way, March 6th, 2025. So if you're listening to this show and it happens to be on March 12th next week, just go on YouTube because you missed the premiere. But if you're watching today, which I will launch this out tonight in North Lake Tahoe, Saturday in South Lake Tahoe, which will be the 8th. So just want to throw that out to you guys date wise. I want to jump to Marlette Lake real quick, if you don't mind, Colin, because I've watched your premiere video and got another hook up here. And the archaeological facts that you guys kind of bring up in your trailer, if you will, caught my attention. You probably can't tell people much about them because I know that they're preserved, but that's got to be pretty unique for you guys as a group. To you're going in with a mission to clean up the lake, but all of a sudden you realize some point, wait a minute, there's stuff down here that we may need to leave alone and let other people look at. Correct? Is that kind of
correct? Yeah. It is an interesting facet of the job I have and the job the volunteers have when they work with us, because we are there first and foremost to, clean up the litter and the trash that's down there. But at the end of the day, what are artifacts? What is archaeology? It's looking at trash, right? But it's old trash. So you have to really, kind of exercise caution, because at the end of the day, myself and anyone on our team are not trained archaeologists. We are not trained to date certain items. But what we do is if we're not absolutely certain that these items are, 50 years or younger, we'll mark that as an unknown item and just be like, I'm not sure. I don't know. And then we'll photograph, we'll video document, we'll send up a diver surface marker buoy and get surface support teams to drop a very precise GPS point. And then those items actually get mapped out on an ArcGIS platform.
Okay.
And we can send those off to the archaeologists that we know at state historical preservation offices or tribal historical preservation offices. Or in this case for Marlette, it was Nevada State Parks archaeologist Art, who's a great guy and someone that we got to interview for this episode too, to really shed more light on it. And, archaeology and artifacts, it's a sensitive subject, and we make sure that if we see anything, we're not touching it. We're just video documenting it and sending it off. And then if we find out that archaeologists don't think it's an artifact, it looks younger, it's not of any interest or concern to them, we actually transfer those GPS points to a heavy lift litter, where we have a map of items that were too big for us to remove, and then we go back to remove them later. So, or we at least have that information of where that litter lies under the surface so that others could help if needed too.
That's really cool. It would caught my interest in Marlette too, because Tahoe is one thing because it has such a historical history. It's big, huge lake with the Indians and stuff. The stories they tell were great. But Marlette Lake is a man-made reservoir that was made for the water system of Virginia City. Still over 100 years old, as far as a water system, I believe, up there, and still a time when development really wasn't flourishing in Nevada or on the Tahoe side. So. I'm sure there's Native American, materials up in that area. The state parks got stuff preserved around Spooner Lake as well. So I assume there's got to be a really rich history in there. It really caught my attention. I wanted to watch the films. Going, I want to watch that one. Not that I am not a go find the treasure guy. My dad is, but I just thought it would be really cool to see the history on it. Have you found other lakes where you've run into that, or is Marlette like kind of the first time you've kind of run into that issue?
Yeah, no, I mean, we saw what we thought was looked like a frame and tires to a Model T Ford or something similar of that era in Fallen Leaf Lake at one point.
Okay.
And so, yeah, quite a few different things that we see from time to time. And, and some of them are interesting and fascinating. And sometimes there's that dilemma that's hard to deal with where you might see an old Coors can that has a church key opener. That's from like the 30s behind, and past, and we're not legally allowed to touch those, and sometimes we have to tell our volunteers that. Which
so there is a timetable of history then. So is a timetable like 50 years? Is that like the number?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of the beer cans, a lot of the things we find are kind of they're within that that time frame of still being litter, but there are every now and then some things that like, well, I'm not really trained. I've been doing it long enough to kind of know a couple signs that are, for sure older things. And, but yeah, when it's a simple course can, it can be a little like,
Pretty easy.
yes, really,
Gotcha.
really, do we have to? But
Yeah.
for us, we live to fight another day, and respect the laws of historical artifacts, which
Yeah.
I think is important. We want to preserve history. We want to encourage others to do the same. And
Yep.
if they think they see something that might be historic, even when it doesn't look that important, the idea is not to disturb it and get someone out there who knows what they're doing, because that one thing that just looks like garbage to you, but old garbage, could actually be, a sign for an archaeological site where
Mm-hmm.
within, 50 meters of there could be absolutely stunning discoveries to be
Yeah.
found and excavated. So that's why we do what we do. And it's fun to, find a little part in this. I remember I actually studied underwater archaeology in college when I was like
Did you?
19. Yeah. And then
Okay.
I found out they had to wait on grants, and I was like, oh, screw that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be a server the rest of my life waiting for a grant to come through. And then I went, made a bunch of money in the for-profit sector, and here I am back
Back in the world, right?
underwater talking to archaeologists. Life goes full circle.
I think that's fantastic. You said something a minute ago that really kind of caught my attention. It was like, you must have a little bit of conflict within you when you're working with Clean Up the Lake. You have a mission to clean these lakes up. You're also trying to shoot video, and you've got this creative outlet where you just love to tell a story. Have you found a spot where they conflict a little bit and you're kind of in your own way, or how seamless has that been a process for you? Because like I go out hiking and backpacking and I tell stories, but really the reason I go hiking and backpacking is so I could discharge and be in nature, right? So to put a video camera on all the time is counterintuitive at times, a little battle in the soul, right? So how about you when you're doing that? Is there a time where you go, whoa, that was a little challenging because I really wanted to focus here on that type of thing? So
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's a good question. I think, when we're out cleaning up, doing things, yeah, it's like get the job done, work fast, go through, clean up, send up a lift bag with something, move on, swim
right.
fast, et cetera, and work. But like shooting content shooting documentaries, shooting content, it's a slow process, right? Like patience is a virtue, and take 27, like, yeah, it's people need to be ready for that. So it's most of the time what we'll do is we'll just designate like a day for shooting, right?
Okay.
Like, if we're off, if we're doing good on a project schedule and like the broader kind of mindset, like if we have 4 months to complete it and we're halfway after 1 month and 2 weeks or six
Mm-hmm.
weeks time, cool, we got a day or two we can get out and shoot easily,
Nice.
and
Okay.
which is nice. Otherwise, Ludovic Fiquete is our cinematographer and editor, and also he's trained up to be a great diver, and so he jumps in the water and usually kind of comes in addition to a lot of the volunteers we have to document things. So it's been a good way to be able to still capture everything and still get work done.
That's awesome. That's great. And as your team has grown and your volunteer list has continued to grow, I imagine people have different skill sets or interest points. They can tell that story, help that story come together a little faster and easier.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's there's a varied amount of skill sets out there, right?
Right.
But I think as time goes on, we start doing more and more at the organization, and starting to seek kind of more experienced divers. Like some of the projects we're on now, it's snowing outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
And tomorrow it's 20 some odd degrees. Tomorrow we're sending divers in the water, right? So
Wow.
it's we need people with dry suit certifications. We're also trying to do these deeper dives and stay down there longer and use different types of equipment,
Mm-hmm.
which requires more in-depth training. And not everyone has that, in the middle of the mountains, like, which isn't typically a dive community for highly experienced divers, but we're trying to work on that. And I'm actually trying to set up a more formal dive team as well. So still welcoming kind of all volunteers
Okay.
when they can join us, but also creating kind of a more exciting dive team that we're going to work with, which it's still in development, but some fun things there that I've always having fun new ideas on the
That's
sides.
cool. Well, let me jump to where this is going then for you. You've been to Minnesota now. Obviously, Clean Up the Lake is starting to gain some traction. At least in the U.S. I'm assuming. What are your hopes and plans for the organization as it moves forward? I mean, do you see yourself going to other states? How hard was that to do? Do you plan on you think there might be an opportunity for a clean up the lake part 2, like in Colorado or some state that has lots of, is that where you kind of think this might go, especially now that you're going to be introducing film and some of the things that you can do with that too? So
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, we'll always keep a lot of the projects going on that we have and hit the areas that we see, are needed, and continue, of course, to protect Lake Tahoe in our own backyard and give that the attention it so deserves. But then at the same time, there's a lot of areas that are in need of this type of work. And so we're actually working this year to launch what we're calling a global alliance program, where we want to set up strategic alliances with individuals or groups or agencies that see the work that we're doing and want to replicate that in their area. Right. And so, for instance, right now I'm actually working with someone out of the state of Washington, who's a veteran who just is moving from military life to civilian life, and we partnered with the Department of Defense for a skill bridge program. So we work with them on skill bridge, which bridges that military to civilian life for individuals with new skill sets to work when they get out of service. And so this is someone who we've worked with in diving ways during his service, and he's interested in possibly bringing an organization like Clean Up the Lake to Washington State in the Puget Sound, which is great. And it's actually where I grew up, on the Puget Sound, and so to see someone trying to set something up like that, like what we have here, would be phenomenal. And so we're trying to train him through the operations, as well as what you do to set up a nonprofit, how you raise funds, what kind of permitting, safety protocols, really everything. So, it is something that we're trying to do. And those individuals or groups that would like to bring the work we do to their area, we do have training partnerships and things that are starting to develop and are open to discussing it, because we want to see the work we do really help impact areas around the nation, if not the world, if people are interested.
Absolutely. That'd be fantastic. Just a real quick little tidbit, small world here. One of my best friends from high school lives in Bremerton, used to dive train all the Marines, and he works in private sector diving now too. It's like, I'll have to get you contact information. Maybe want to get involved up there. But
that's where this guy is. Yeah, he's Bremerton. He's coming down for his internship for the next 2.5, 3 months. But yeah, he's based in Bremerton as well.
Oh, funny. I'll send you his name after. We'll connect. Be funny if it was related at all. So let's talk about the show one more time here. We got just a few more minutes of the show. What can people expect in the YouTube series, like starting Sunday? If they can't make the 2 premieres tonight or Saturday, what can they expect Sunday when they log in? And is there 3 episodes, 6 episodes?
We're going to do 1 episode each month, just to kind of keep it going and keep viewers there and ready. And so we'll be releasing the Marlette Lake episode, which is about 10 minutes. So each episode's between about 6 to 10 minutes. Trying to make it digestible. We'll also have kind of social teasers, if you will, either snippets of the episode itself or trailers that will kind of air on social media, so that people can go there, see it, get a taste for it, and kind of go to our link in our bio there to connect to YouTube. And so ultimately, episode 1, our pilot episode, Marlette Lake, will be out there this weekend for people to watch on Sunday, if they can't make it to the premieres.
Here, one more premiere for everybody here. I got one more.
This more than ever.
We're really pushing our boundaries. We're bringing out our best volunteers. We're taking our time to go through our dive plans.
I almost ran out of air.
I know that this town is known for ice fishing, which is not really a recreational activity that happens up in Tahoe.
I mean, we're less than 300 feet away from the absolute maximum for recreational diver, if not, the recommended maximum for anyone.
So yeah, I got chills just watching it every time I watch it, because this is going to be such a fun experience to see with you guys, because we know around Tahoe, you guys are really one of those, shining stars for environmental conservation around here, about because you're just doing it, right? It's like, it's not just talking it. We're not just posting on social media. You guys are actually literally out there every week in the water doing this. So it's really kind of fun. And I did watch that preview when you said you almost ran the air. I'm going, There's good TV right there.
Yeah, I guess I did run out. It was the gear malfunctioned, and because the waters were so cold, if you saw, like, there was a clip where I was sending up a chunk of a dock that came off, and
Mm-hmm.
I think I held down the secondary regulator a little too long to inflate a lift bag, and it just froze open, and it was 36-degree waters in Donner Lake, about 40 feet down, and so it just dumped my air too quick, and then I had to share air and go up, and happened to have my GoPro going, so I was like, oh, I'll just keep that rolling. And
A shout out
we
to
were shooting some.
all of us random people out there who think we can just dive and go find stuff. This is trained professionals with teams of people. They're not out there by themselves doing this. They have a team of people, which is obviously very important, right, Colin?
It is, yeah. I think we get a lot of people that are interested in, and have their certification. Like, I'd love to dive, and it's like, cool, yeah. It's very different. When did you dive? 2 years ago? Got it. Okay, we're gonna need you to train for like half a year, and then maybe you can come with us. But
that's a good point, though. Is that people are going to see the show, they're going to hear about things like this, they're going to go, I want to be involved. What is the easiest way for people to get involved now?
they can reach out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can reach out to us, and we did set up our environmental dive school in Incline Village, and we have instructors that can get people trained up and certified. But with our volunteer operations, when people just come out and join us, and we have the gear and the tanks, and they come out, it doesn't cost anything. They're just volunteering for that aspect of what we do. It's gratis, right? They can join us, and we're thankful for their support, but we do need people with certain skill sets. So that's also why we set up the dive school, is just because with that, we want to be able to ensure people have the proper training, and people were going to other dive shops. They weren't really getting it. So we wanted to find a way to train volunteers who want to join us. So now we have instructors that work with us, and they actually work with people who are interested and get them through the proper certifications and training, get them the specialties to use scooters, dry suits, nitrox, whatever. And that's all set up out of Incline Village. So they can join us, but I think the best understanding is it's, to become that good of a diver is an investment. And, for us, we might cut costs here and there for them where we can, because they want to come help us. But at the end of the day, we're still hiring instructors to do it. There's training materials through Patty we got to buy, so they do the research. So that's a separate branch, if you will, of Clean Up the Lake, still the nonprofit itself, through mission related revenue to train those volunteers. But, they would still come in and pay for a class, and then we can get an instructor to work with them separately and get them up to speed before we bring them out on the cleanup, because that way they're in an environment with a trained professional whose job is to babysit them.
Exactly.
The job is not to send up docks and grab beer cans and tires and survey aquatic invasive species, or I was taking samples for tire particles for UC Santa Cruz, and things that are a bit more technical. They need that training and experience first.
Yeah, and so we talked about this last show too. But the other opportunity is just for individuals like myself, for example, who doesn't dive. You guys do clean up the lakes, where you guys need people to sort litter and count stuff on from the cleanup and collect data, which are a whole different element of volunteering and being part of anything. So there's those opportunities available, and they can find all that information on your website, like where your next dives are at and how to get involved.
Correct. I think the best way to get involved too is even if they've been a diver, but it's been a while, it's come on out and jump in the water as a snorkeler. We probably won't put weights on you. And so you're just in a very, very buoyant, floaty wetsuit going around on the surface, grabbing what you can. And that's often a lot safer when we have the warm stuff. We also need, kayakers, as you said, litter sorters. So there's a lot of things that have, zero to minimal barriers to entry, where pretty much anyone can join and volunteer with our organization. The hard one is getting underwater. Just because it's such a more dangerous environment, we vet very, very hard to make sure it's safe.
Very cool. Well, the show that is launching this week, everyone, it's What Lies Unseen. It's a YouTube series that'll be popping out. Colin and his group at Clean Up the Lake. Remember, the media company's MAD. It's MAD. It's Make a Difference, right?
Yeah, Make a Difference Creative. Correct.
Okay, Creative. Take a look at them, what they're going to be doing. Colin, it's great to talk to you again. I will, obviously get this pushed out to the groups today, but to our readers and listeners out there, Real quick, I can't do any of this without my sponsor stuff. I want to shout out Visit Carson Valley real quick here. If you can give me 20 seconds, I got a little bumper here. Shout out to them as well. So. Awesome. And we want to thank them. We don't have any. Well, we have Topaz Lake. I don't know if you guys done Topaz Lake in Carson Valley, but that would be our lake here in town. But we get Tahoe in our county though as well. So Tahoe is very important to our region. But Colin, thank you so much. I hope the premiere tonight goes awesome. If I know anything about the Tahoe community, I'm sure it's going to be a blast because people love, to get together and share and conservation message. So I'm sure you guys will have a good crew. I'll see you Saturday. I'm going to come up and do the premiere on Saturday. So look forward to it. Same. And thank you for sharing me as the why, because I would have gone to the wrong one on that. Anything else you'd like people to know about the movie or upcoming events that you'd like to get out real quick before we let the guests go?
I think just it's a big thanks to a lot of our partners, of course.
Give them a shout out. Yeah.
There's probably too many for me to list just now on all the episodes that we did. But Marlette was Travel North Tahoe, Nevada. Virginia Lakes, we got to work with Mono County. Minnesota, we were with the Minnesota Pollution Control Board and Emil Lax Foundation, and so there's a lot of great people that we got to work with. And of course, for Mammoth, we were partnered up with Visit Mammoth and Mammoth Lakes Community Foundation and Outbound Mammoth, tons of great people, as well as the town of Mammoth Lakes. So
we met with Visit Mammoth after you guys did the dive, and they spoke so highly of your guys' crew, and we're so excited about working with you guys up there. So
absolutely,
part of our episode.
Even those great board shops down there like Kittredge and Sun and Ski were even on board. There's great people in Mammoth. We love that community, and I'm excited to hopefully get down there for a screening in the next few months this spring or something.
Very good. Well, if you're watching this on YouTube or listening on Spotify today, afternoon, today, 6:00 in Truckee or North Lake Tahoe. Say where is that again?
Yeah, it'll be at 6 p.m. Doors open at Alibi Ale House in Truckee, California,
right.
for our premiere of What Lies Unseen.
Perfect. And then Saturday we'll be in South Lake Tahoe. Come see us. We'll be at on the Y there at the same ale house, right? So the South Brewing.
South Lake Brewing, yeah, different brewery, but same vibes, right?
Same vibes,
so
exactly.
South Lake Brewing over by the Y on Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Doors open, 7:30 screening.
Absolutely. I mean, hey, in this world of social media where we share everything, this sounds like a good episode. Watch your episodes on Sunday. Share them out to your friends. Let's get a big old crowd watching this and just adding it to our part of conservation and things that we care about in the Sierra and around the world. Cleaning our water up is a great thing to support. So, Colin, thank you so much for being on part of the show. Thanks for being our first-time second guest, our return guest on the show. You're welcome anytime. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys this weekend.
Thank you, Charlie.
Very good. Wherever you guys at today, drive safe. If you're watching on YouTube, like, share, subscribe. We'd love to have you on board. Send us some ideas of places you'd like to hear more about this summer as we go about telling stories of the Sierra. We're glad to have you here, and we hope you'll join us again next week.